This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today we have Kathy Longo. Kathy is a certified financial planner, practitioner, chartered advisor in philanthropy, and a certified divorce financial analyst with over 25 years of wealth management experience. She's the founder and president of Flourish Wealth Management, an independent boutique wealth management firm in the Minneapolis area. Kathy is passionate about helping women and their families create insightful financial plans that take into consideration their unique values, emotions, and aspirations. She is the author of the book Flourish Financially, Values, Transitions, and Big Conversations, which encourages a holistic and personalized approach to finance, discussing the fiscal and psychological aspects of big transitions and life events. Kathy continues to provide financial education by using the tips, concepts, and ideas she refined in Flourish Financially to start her own podcast and Alexa skill, the Flourish Financially. Welcome to the show, Kathy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excellent intro. Man, you've got some experience and diverse skills here that I think you're just on the right track. Like, you're so focused on values and the psychological aspect of things. It's so fresh to hear and see your perspective. And I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Thanks. I'm excited too. I know we share some similarities with the focus on values as part of our work. So it'll be fun to dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, how did you get here to be, part of this industry, but also to start Flourish Wealth Management?
Well, I started Flourish Wealth Management 8.5 years ago, but I've been in the business for a while. And I was one of the lucky ones who majored in financial planning back when there were only about a dozen schools that had the major. And I literally stumbled across this major. I had to ask, my first question was, well, what is financial planning? Fortunately, I've learned a lot since those days, but I took that first personal finance class at Purdue University and loved it. I could not believe you could do this for a living. So I quickly changed my major, and it was early on, it was the money, like the technical aspect of it. But what I really discovered is a lot of psychology and working with people and helping families. And it's so rewarding. So I feel lucky to have discovered this as a career. And, 8.5 years ago, I got the vision that I wanted to create my own firm. I was a partner in a larger firm and had worked at various size planning and accounting firms. And I had that entrepreneurial spirit and really wanted to focus on women and empowering them with their finances. And so took that leap and, haven't looked back. I love almost every day.
I love that you said almost every day, because that's being honest, right?
Yes, exactly.
I love that. It's so good. But the fact that you majored in it and ended up here, you are one of the few. And it's, I taught for several years at Texas State, where they were beginning their financial planning degree there, and they're kind of starting a financial counseling degree. And I was involved a lot in that process. But it's interesting that so many that I talked to never even had a class in financial planning. They've come from so many diverse backgrounds that you are kind of one of the few now. Now it seems to be more and more the norm coming out of some of these bigger schools and UT and UVU and some others here that really have been focusing on that. That's trying to change this profession really into a great industry to be working in, and coming out of school with the CFP in hand. A totally different scenario.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well,
right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're just wired on, like, even personal finance should be offered in like all aspects of education, even starting with grade school. And then parents don't have the knowledge, or they know more than they think they do, but they where are we going to get this education? So again, it's just such a valuable profession to be a part of.
I couldn't agree with you more. And very rewarding one, which we'll talk about as you're balancing, home life, you have children, Your husband works with you, I understand, as we're talking in the pre-show. You have a daughter who's actually in the industry, which is really cool. We'll talk about that. But you've got a lot going on. You've got a podcast, a book that you've published. So what is your definition of balance as you're trying to balance all these different balls of your, financial, professional, home life? Tell us a little bit about what you think balance really is.
Yeah, so for me, it's having clarity on a vision. So spending reflective time, really thinking about my vision for work, for me personally, for my relationships. So having that vision to look towards, it can be my guidepost, in every day. And then we come to every day, and balance is not a word that's for me in every day, but it's just doing my best every day. And then I can say, okay, great. Letting go of the outcomes is key to that balance. And then I find I need a check-in with others, just for some reflections, so whether it's personal therapy or different business coaches that I work with, that's key to balance and helping me see what I might be missing. But continued growth and learning, that's all part of balance for me.
Yeah, mentors, therapists, coaches seems to be a theme that I hear a lot from those who are successful, who've been able to scale and grow and keep balance. What would you say through the years of having these types of mentors and professionals help you? What is the one or two things that you feel like you really gain from utilizing them?
Yeah, I think, perspective. It's also been, sometimes I feel like running my own company, it can feel a little lonely being at the top there. So having others bring in perspective. We work with this group called Strategic Implementer, and they focus on helping financial planning firms, and they have been great. I found before I had we're developing a leadership team within Flourish now, but they're a sounding board for me, and so that's really helpful. I think on kind of the therapy side, learning more about myself and learning more communication tools has been really helpful. Boundaries, that is I know that's a common word, but I really didn't have a good perspective on those 3 years ago. Key to having balance in life. I discovered I love to help people. So I'm a people pleaser and love to rescue and make the situation better. But a lot of it was rooted, I felt so much better myself when I did that. So learning to let go of the outcome, has been really key in there. So those are just a couple of examples of where these other, important people in my life have helped me get to that balance spot.
That's great. Appreciate your clarity and vision of what balance really is, which is having clarity and vision, right? It's understanding where you're going and having accountability help. Feeling lonely at the top is not, I think, uncharacteristic. Mm-hmm. I've heard that a lot, that you need to have someone in your pocket that you can turn to. So I appreciate you bringing this up. Now, you've done really well with your business. You're growing, you're scaling, and this growth can sometimes come at a cost to balance. Mm-hmm. How have you been able to scale your business while keeping that sense of balance that you just talked about?
Key is many different things, but for one example is an operating system to run the business. So early on, when it was even just me, I started to work on this. It's called Entrepreneurial Operating System and Attraction, if you've heard the book, or Gino Wickman. And so just trying to create structure. Structure probably it makes me feel better, although I think it helps in all businesses. And so started very early with that. And now we've gone from a self-implementer to actually have a trained implementer helping us. But the concept behind EOS is really your business should be run to create joy in your life. You can have freedom from your business. So we're working hard at keeping that system in place, which is, accountability, a way to manage people, staying focused on what our top priorities are. because I am like one to like, oh, that shiny object, like that looks so good. I'm truly a visionary and can see like, oh, we should do this, but it helps make me stay centered to what we all need to work on in each quarter. And then we have a weekly meeting where we review like our scorecard, which is the metrics for the business, like looking forward, what's happening. It gives us time to check in that we're all working towards like what our goals are for the quarter. And then a chance to really work through issues in the companies, because when I find that issues come up, throughout the week, and we could like divert ourselves into being, oh, we better solve this right away. But now we have dedicated time that we solve issues. So it is really making the firm better. It's defining more processes. It's creating clarity. We're being more diligent on communication as we grow as an organization.
Yeah, communication is key to how you're growing. Because I know you mentioned that in the pre-show, like just making sure the systems are running so that the service is the same throughout, right? I hear about EOS all the time. I absolutely agree with business systems. And, balance, you need to have balance in the business, and you need to have balance outside of business. You have balance in between. There's all these different ways to look at it. But it's so incredibly important to be able to scale and not pile more and more on. I call them productive workaholics, those who become really productive. Yeah. But then instead of taking the time and doing other things with their life, they just fill in more productive things to do. And it can be a very habitual, even, addictive type of personality that gets caught there. So, caution. And I love that you're talking about the communication within your own team. What would you say is some of the biggest struggles that you have, maybe with that communication or with keeping the service the same throughout for your growing team? Yeah,
so now as we're having like different wealth management teams, coming from a larger organization, I know how hard it is to create standard processes and define the way you work. And there should be creativity too. But, when you have a set standard for service, that's what I believe we need to work towards. But it is like training, making sure that teams are doing it consistently, making sure our processes make sense. Now that it used to be all of us in the meeting, but we've now defined where we have a set leadership team and the rest are on either the investment team or the financial planning team. I'm not on either of those teams. So it's like making sure what comes out of leadership, which there is like cross representation that flows to other people so they still feel engaged, and, making sure that I'm messaging like where Flourish is going. So it's just because we're not all together in every meeting, being more diligent so that we all have that same knowledge to work from. But it's for me letting go of some of the outcomes, because I need to create decision makers, and I have to 95% love all their decisions, but sometimes I just have to be like, it's not exactly the way I would do it. I don't say that, but I think it, and just let go a little bit. Nobody's harmed. It's still going to be good. So that letting go is a big thing for me.
This comes up so often, more often than not. Letting go, being able to delegate, however you want to call it. Now, I love that you're creating decision makers, right? I mean, is it any different than developing children? Maybe so. Obviously, it's not a perfect analogy, but don't you want your children to grow up, develop to the point where they don't really need you? You want them to love you and come back, and you want them to feel like, that's a little bit of a different story. But at the same time, I mean, good businesses, if somebody does leave, you do want them to feel comfortable contacting you, being a reference, enjoying the time that they spent with your company, so that they, feel still a part of that culture. So I can't hesitate thinking about that as I'm sending off a daughter into the world. She's going to college here in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but this is late August when we're doing this interview. And it's as a parent, you start checking off, did I teach them everything? Do they know it? No, probably not, but I've taught them how to make decisions. So no matter what they're going to find out there, they're going to be able to decide on their own. And of course they can lean on you. Of course you're going to have leadership discussions, and maybe you're not going to agree with everything they agree with. That's part of being human. But I love that you're focused on that. As you're scaling and as you're growing, what do you see? Because you involve a lot of financial advisors. You see a lot of them. You're involved in the community. You speak. You have podcasts. You're very much in this industry for the long haul. As you've observed other financial advisors, what have you seen as some of maybe their biggest issues in having balanced growth, like we've been talking about?
Well, I think that some of the work that we do with our clients, we were talking about wheel of life. So, just looking at life and there's many different categories that people might put on their wheel of life. But, for ours, we use the money quotients tool, but it's family, health, leisure, learning, inner growth, home, community work, finances. So that's the work that we do with our clients. And I see financial planners doing that work of defining what life looks like and putting the finances together. But I think we don't always spend the time on ourselves and working on how are we doing personally? I want to measure myself to the same aspirational goals that we help our clients with. And so having dedicated reflection time on ourselves and just spending as much time as we create in the business in developing ourselves and our family and, having that life outside of business. I think that's the piece that everyone could. Not everyone. Well, I have a growth mindset, so I think there's always learning, but I think more advisors could spend time thinking about that. And when I do my own wheel of life and kind of map out where I'm at, then I always take it. I do this exercise a lot. It's just a balancer for me. It's just a mind map and my last one that I worked on a month ago is at the center was take care of Kathy and what had to happen so that I was feeling supported, whether it was exercise or just personal care or some travel and family experiences. And, if people who know mind mapping, it's just kind of a branching out of ideas. And I find myself that's really helpful for me to reflect and check in with myself. And then back to where I feel balance is there when I can relook at my vision.
It's interesting as we both share this love of values as a foundational point. Financial Planning 101 talks about financial goals should be based in financial values. This is CFP stuff. This is not, we're not making this up, right? And any financial advisor who's worth it, will also agree, you need values, but what are values? And what I love about what you said there is that, it's really about what's inside. What do you really feel? How do you see yourself? What do you really need? And that a lot of times we stress ourselves out because of what we're going through. But if we can go back to the vision board, if we can mind map, if we can journal, meditate, whatever helps us to stay centered on our values, research has found that when we focus on those, on the values that brought us those goals, that can keep us from stressing ourselves out. And, so the fact that you're doing it, you're proof in the pudding that it works. You're doing these exercises, you're leading by example. How do you lead your team to be able to do that? If you notice they're stressing out, if they're not, clicking well, do you lead them in these types of exercises that you do yourself?
We do on a personal. So one thing that we've done is we've brought in an industrial psychologist who has helped us create to learn ways to take care of ourselves or work through difficult conversations, giving a little bit more skill set, understanding conflict. And what she's also helped us do is create a foundational onboarding. So it's everything from foundational skills, technical relationship skills, leadership skills. So really working a lot on the skills that then help us, throughout aspects of life. And then each of the the wealth management has a career path that's different learnings and development along the way. And so it could be either books or TED Talks. And then we complement, we do these lunch and learns, we had one earlier today. We do them twice a month. One's on diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, and the other one is just learning. And so, for example, we all take turns leading it. And the one that was most recently on just the bringing a learning to people was on sleep and 50 facts and things things. It was presented in like a TED Talk type of a way, about things to know about sleeping, which is like takeaways that you can think about like for your own life. And then like diversity, equity, like one recent was on, the inequity in mental health care out there. And so we take care of our team in like the giving them tools and resources that like help them in their role, and also bring back, like our team will say, we love talking about these different things because it enriches their life. So those are just a couple ways, but learning is kind of the key piece of giving them some different tools.
Yeah. A great example of learning from others and not being afraid to bring in those with outside perspectives. I mean, obviously, there's on each end of the spectrum, there might be too much coaching, too much consulting, too much outside influence. And you have to gauge that as the leader of your firm, like how much is this internal culture and how much we need to learn from outside sources. But what I'm hearing from you is that you're not afraid to basically do what you ask your clients to do. You're asking your clients to trust that, their money to you as a professional and your team. And, you're doing the same thing with your business. Like, hey, this is your baby, this is your business. And you're not afraid to get the outside help, which I see as a value that you hold. And that it's, I've seen across the board of balanced leaders are able to do that. They know that they can utilize outside sources and make that available to their team. So great, just great job. I think you're doing a fantastic job that way. What advice would you give to other advisors who maybe struggle with balance, with delegating, with maybe training their own teams so that they can have, a sense of balance in their own culture and business?
Yeah. Well, I think like that outside perspective has been really helpful for me. So like even in learning from others, whether it's hiring somebody or joining groups, like I'm involved in a group called Women Presidents Organization, that's really helped me look at like what I want to create for my company, from not just financial planners, but other businesses, so the other women business owners. I'm involved in a financial planning study group, which just helps give me perspective about what other financial planning firms are doing. But I think that like definitely role modeling, like life and more than just, work is really important. So you got to be the role model to like set the path at the top, and then look at like, really what you want to create, just like you do with your clients, but look at it for your team and see like, well, what does holistic look like for that? And whether it's the offerings that you create, the experiences you create. But I think like culture, it happens, but you can also be deliberate on creating the culture that you want for your firm. So bringing outside perspective, taking time to reflect, role modeling what you hope for your team. Those are all important aspects.
Yeah, great concepts. Appreciate you sharing that with us. Appreciate your take on balance and values and how that can really help clients and your own growth and scaling, as well as, putting a plug in for taking care of yourself. I think the advisors really struggle with this. Yet when I ask advisors to evaluate their highest values, even just the areas of life, spiritual health, physical health, relationship with spouse, and relationship with family are the top 3 and 4 priorities that show up time and time again. I mean, that's, 50% of that is taking care of themselves. 50% of it is really their immediate family. So, self and family, no matter how you slice and dice the wheel of life, how we all do it a little bit differently, but those are the things that always show up. So I appreciate you adding some flavor to that and some experience in what you're doing. If advisors want to reach out to you, they want to get some mentorship, or they possibly want to connect with you for whatever reason, maybe join your team, where should they go? How do they reach you?
Yeah, well, yes, join our team. Like, we are growing. And so we continue to look for good people that have a passion for this business. And so, either kathylongo.com is just like my personal website, and you'll find me there. And if you're wanting to head to our company page, flourishwealthmanagement.com. So those are both places that you'll find me.
Love it. And you're active on LinkedIn. And so it's nice to to get to see you there. I'm sure we can connect as well. But thank you again, Kathy, for being a part of the Balanced Advisor podcast, for being willing to share your experience, your knowledge, and honestly, just giving back to the industry who needs to have this conversation about balance. We need to be talking about it. We need to be focused about it. Our clients, they see us, they want us to be the example, and our employees depend on our balanced leadership. So thank you again for this time. And, if you guys have liked this, you've loved it, share, subscribe, give this podcast episode to someone who needs to hear Kathy and her examples. And again, thank you, Kathy, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
And remember, everyone out there listening, live life on purpose.